smart. Several teachers called Finn arrogant, which Finn's father decided was code for smart ass. Everything about Finn was a contradiction. His IQ was in the genius range, and on paper he was the perfect 4.0 student, but he also had been in more fights than Muhammad Ali. He couldn't seem to walk from one end of the block to the other without punching one or more of the Benson boys. Finn had a rascal's grin and a sparkle in his eyes. He also had a powerful fist and a right hook that was lightning quick. Though he really didn't have much of a temper, it took a lot to get him riled. He couldn't abide a bully, and each of the 7 Benson boys was exactly that. They preyed on the younger boys and girls in the neighborhood and got a real kick out of making them cry. All the kids knew they could go to Finn for help if they were being tormented. He wasn't afraid to stand up to the bullies, no matter how many of them there were. When Devin saw his son's latest black eye, he remarked to his wife that Finn had many fine qualities, but he was lacking in common sense. How else could he explain why his son would take on 7 Bensons at the same time? Fortunately, Finn had never been arrested. None of the boys had. And their father determined that the only way to save them from getting into real trouble was to keep them busy from early morning until late at night, especially now that school would soon be over for the summer. During the school year, his sons stayed occupied with part-time jobs and sports. They played football, lacrosse, basketball, and soccer. Those were seasonal sports, however. Swimming, on the other hand, could be an all-year sport. This was a revelation that came to him when he heard from a neighbor that there was a brand-new 50-meter pool only a few miles away at the just-opened Lee Center, where it was believed Olympic hopefuls would start training. He also found out that tryouts for a competitive team were in 1 week. That night in bed, Devin discussed his plan with his wife. He told her about the Lee Center and the Olympic pool. "I want the boys to try out for the team. I think Finn has a good chance of making it." "Who does this team compete against?" Laura asked. "I don't know and I don't care. If Finn makes the team, he'll have to be at the center by 4:45. He'll swim from 5 until 6:30. Practices every day but Sunday," he added, grinning. "It's year-round, too. Even if Beck and Tristan don't make the team, they can do laps with Finn. That ought to wear them out." Laura didn't see any harm in letting the boys try out. She agreed that they needed to channel their energy into something wholesome and exhausting, and swimming laps at the crack of dawn just might be the answer. Her husband was just drifting off to sleep when a thought struck her. She poked him in his shoulder and said, "Wait a minute. Who's going to be driving them to practice every morning?" His snore was her answer. Without mentioning his plan to his sons, Devin filled out the forms, paid the fee for a family membership, and signed up all 3 boys for time trials. That evening, he broached the subject at dinner. He sat at the head of the table and watched his sons inhale their food. They were good-looking boys, he thought. Their hair was thick and dark, like his used to be before he had children. It was streaked with gray now. Beck and Tristan were identical twins. The only way Devin had been able to tell them apart when they were babies was by a small birthmark on the side of Beck's neck. They were exactly 11 months younger than Finn, and for a few weeks each year, all 3 were the same age. Their personalities were different, though. Beck lived to have fun, and had recently become quite the ladies' man. He was just now beginning to show signs of having a little sense. Of the 3 brothers, he was the sweetest and most compassionate, and he definitely didn't hide what he was thinking. Tristan, on the other hand, was the analytical one. He reasoned through everything, no matter how insignificant, and yet he still let Finn talk him into doing the most outrageous stunts. He was generous by nature and would always put his brothers first, but he also took things to heart, and Devin worried he would end up with ulcers if he didn't learn to relax. As idiotic as they sometimes acted, Devin loved the fact that all 3 boys protected one another. Their loyalty was absolute. Finn was pushing away from the table and asking to be excused when his mother nodded to her husband and said, "Didn't you want to speak to the boys about—" "Yes, that's right. Now, boys." "Sir," his sons responded in unison. "Did you know there's an Olympic..."